All right, how are we doing today? This is Cage Kiplinger. This is my partner, Logan Hubert. Welcome to the KNL Sports Huddle. This is our weekly podcast breaking down the top stories in the world of sports. How are we feeling, Logan?
I'm doing terrific. Yeah, it was a rainy weekend here where I'm located, so nothing much else to do than watch sports. And yeah, got to see Sovereignty defeat journalism in a very muddy Kentucky Derby. That was a
Gosh.
highlight. Some great basketball, which I'm sure we're going to talk about here in a bit. And I did catch the end of a Scotty Scheffler masterclass in the
My goodness.
CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, because
Yeah,
minus 31.
if a guy ever needed a win, I mean, it was him, and he normally wouldn't play in a tournament like this, but he needed to just get a win under his belt going into PGA Championship week here in a couple of weeks. But yeah, lot of good things happening over the weekend in the world of sports. Obviously, the race for the Kentucky Derby was a great one, and one note I just have on that one is it delivers every year. It doesn't matter what happens in the race. It could be a favorite that wins. It could be a huge underdog that wins. It could be photo finish. It could be a clear blowout. It doesn't matter. Just the race delivers every time, no matter what happens. That's why they call it the greatest 2 minutes in sports. And then even if you're not a big into horse racing, to wear your fancy hat and sip on a mint julep is the way to go. Before we continue, if you're listening on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel at KL Sports Huddle. Greatly appreciate it. Also, if you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and follow us, give us a rating and review. We're also on Instagram at Huddle KL Sports. You can see some of our content on there in short form if you can't handle an hour. And you can also see any breaking news in the sports world that we like to post on there. But yeah, great weekend in the world of sports. I guess the best place to start would be the NBA, as we had our first round of the playoffs wrap up this weekend. A lot of good basketball. We actually got the first game of round two, the semifinals, with Cleveland and Indiana last night. It was a great game going into a game seven matchup between the Warriors and the Rockets. So we'll get into all of that. We've also got obviously our weekly top stories in the MLB. We got a fun little exercise for you. We'll do a little starting rotation draft full of all-time talent. And then we have our NFL offensive and defensive rookie of the year picks for you. But let's get started with the NBA here. Obviously, first round wrapped up. We had the Lakers lose in game five. We did, obviously, when they went down 3-1, that was pretty well that their casket was ready for them, as they were pretty much done in the series. Before that game five, though, JJ Redick got a little pregame interview question that he didn't like too much about him looking towards his assistant coaches when it came to lineup. As in game four, it was a big topic about him leaving his same five players out there in the second half for the whole second half. It's the first time anyone had ever done that. He got a little offended at the question. Just want to start with this series. What were your thoughts on the series and kind of how game five played out?
Yeah, a little childish in the press conference, but I mean, it was his decision, so he has the right to defend it, even though most people think it was probably the wrong idea to leave your 40-year-old and possibly overweight superstar out there for a whole second half. But yeah, some people in the beginning, like before the playoffs started, thought this would be an easy Lakers in five. I believe I said Lakers in seven, and I said because I think Minnesota. I think the mismatch of the bigs is going to hurt the Lakers. The lack of the Lakers having a true big is going to hurt them, but I do think they have enough star power to pull through. I was halfway right. But however, the Lakers did not have enough support from Luka had decent stats, but you could just tell he was getting blown by on defense by everybody on the Timberwolves. If you were in a Timberwolves jersey, they're all just taking turns blowing by Luka. LeBron didn't have a great series, but the real story in Game 5 was, Rudy Gobert, 27 points, 24 boards. he's kind of gotten some. He's gotten some hate because people call him overrated because he's kind of a regular season producer and his game doesn't really translate to winning to a potential championship seeking team. But I mean, he stepped up big in the series, especially Game 5, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Lakers to see which direction they go.
Yeah, definitely. And, LeBron was asked the question, are you coming back this year? It seems to be the question of the year every year with LeBron as he keeps aging here and he's already 40. I don't even know if it's the best thing to keep him around at his age and for him to continue playing. I think at this point you have to start building around Luka and getting some more athletic guys. They really, after LeBron leaves, you're building a team around Luka and Austin Reeves. These are two guys that aren't super athletic; they're more skill players. And Austin Reeves, who had an awful first round, I would say, as far as his grade, be more of a D plus there. Yeah, I think they need to get more athletic guys to surround them with. Definitely need a big. So Jackson Hayes isn't going to cut it going into the next season. So I will point out the game that Rudy Gobert had. We get this about once a year, every year. Rudy Gobert's performance is 12 of 15 from the field for 27 points, 24 rebounds. He even put in a couple blocks. Just to put it into context, his last 4 games, basically the 4 games previous in this series, he had 5 points, 10 rebounds, 1.3 rebounds, 6.6 rebounds, and 2.6 rebounds. So this was the exception, not the rule, with Rudy Gobert. But yeah, just an unfortunate end to the season for the Lakers, who you had two of the top players with LeBron and Luka highlighting your crew. They can't get out of the first round. It's been kind of the theme with the Lakers teams under LeBron is they've only been to one finals and one other Western Conference finals where they ended up getting swept by the Denver Nuggets. So I don't know how you would, rank this era of Lakers basketball to the other great eras, but I would put it pretty much last next to the 60s when they could never get past Boston. At least they were going to the finals, but it's been a tough era for the Lakers under one of the greatest players of all time. But yeah, just unfortunate for the Lakers. And I do think JJ Redick did a really good job this season in his first year as an NBA head coach. But yeah, he learned some lessons in the playoffs, definitely.
And just one last point on the Lakers. If LeBron does end up staying, I mean, if LeBron stays, assuming if he's lost a step, it's not much. Like, he's still a really efficient player. If Luka gets in good basketball shape and they add a big just with their current core, I think they could still really compete in the West. Like, it really would have been interesting with if a healthy Mark Williams on this team, how they would have fared against
Right.
the Timberwolves. But I guess we'll never know. But I mean, they have really intriguing role players. I think Rui Hachimura would be any team seeking a championship would love to have him on their roster. Finney Smith, I mean, he was with the Mavericks before when they made a run. So I mean, I think they have pieces if they could just land a decent big, and LeBron plays unlike his age, and Luka gets in, and he'll have another whole off season to develop with the Lakers and Redick some more since he came in through halfway through the season. They could be really good next year again, and then maybe LeBron could ride off into the sunset after that.
Yeah. So Minnesota moves on to the semifinals where they'll be matched up with the Golden State Warriors, who capped off a 7-game series against the Houston Rockets just last night. It was a great game. Curry had a slow first half, but was really able to kick it into gear in the second half. My first question for you is, what can Houston add in the offseason to make this team just put this team over the edge? Because, I mean, they got the 2 seed this year, which is great for a young group of players who've really come together, but they need some offense. That it was kind of hard to watch at times during this series.
Yeah, as I said last week, I think they might be the worst 2 seed of all time. And that's not saying they're not a playoff caliber team, but just a team that earned the second best seed in their conference. Because yeah, that especially Game 7, that offense was just absolutely horrendous. So you asked about a star player they could add. So we keep hearing names like Durant and possibly Giannis if they make a big trade for that. I mean, you'd love to have those guys on your team. I don't know how much that would exactly help. To me, the best I would go after Devin Booker. Um, that's exactly what you need. You need a guy who can score, who could shoot, who could score. The way Jalen Green played over this series, other than his Game 2 outlier where he dropped 38, he never scored more than 12 in any of the six other games. He never scored more than 12. So I mean, he'll likely be traded if they are going to make a move for a superstar. And to me, Booker just makes sense. He could fill that role. He could be a outside scoring threat. He can open up more opportunities for their other young players. And Houston owns one of Phoenix's future picks. And if you recall, we talked about, or if you've looked it up, Phoenix doesn't have another first-round pick for several years. And they missed the playoffs this year with 2 stars, and they don't have much financial flexibility, so they need anything. And they've said in the past they don't want to trade Booker, but they're in desperate times right now, and I think it would work out beautifully for both sides. Phoenix can get some assets in a trade, get some draft picks, and then Houston can pair a guy who, I mean, led his team to the NBA Finals along with Chris Paul just a few years ago. I think he would fit in perfectly with Houston.
Is it time to move on from Jalen Green? Like, could he be one of the bigger pieces of a trade that they could get someone like a Booker?
So if you're going to make a move for a superstar, when you're making a trade for a superstar, you have to give up good pieces. And he would be on the top of my list of good young players that willing to sacrifice. I think Thompson, I think they shouldn't touch him. I think they should keep him because he played really well this series and had a really good year. I would also hope to keep Sengun. I mean, if they're really going to swing big, they might have to offer him. But
that's what I'm thinking. Like it could end up getting rid of most of the top core of this team to go after one of those big guys.
Yeah, I mean, and if they're going to get Booker, I mean, just trading Jalen Green makes sense because essentially Booker would take his spot with the rosters.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at the East, I want to move over to the New York Knicks Detroit Pistons series where Jalen Brunson came up with the biggest shot of the series to seal it for the Knicks as they move on to the second round to face the Celtics. I don't know if you watched that game, the Knicks and Pistons, but it was an incredible game. It was an incredible series, one that kind of got overlooked by some of the things going on in the Western Conference. But I think it was one of the best, probably the best series in the East.
Yeah, every game was close. I mean, I think a couple of them I know Game 1 ended up double digits, but it was close throughout. But every other game, came down right to the wire, in Game 6 especially. That was a crazy game. I watched the last minute because I saw it was close. But if you look at the box score, like the Knicks won the first quarter by double digits, and then the Pistons won the second quarter by double digits, and the Knicks won the third quarter by double digits, and then the Pistons won that quarter, but essentially they didn't have enough. Where Brunson hit that incredible 3-pointer to ice it. That was a great series. I would have loved to have seen it go 7 games, but credit to the Knicks. I mean, they went 3-0 at Detroit. I mean, that's hard to do.
That's impressive.
I know the Knicks are a big market, and so it's not going to be a super rowdy arena. They're going up against because they'll have some of their own fans there, but still in the playoffs, going 3-0 and on the road in the series, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson ending with 40 points in that Game 6. Only 3 of 10 from the 3-point line, but he did go 15 of 33 from the field, 7 assists, even chipped in a few rebounds as well. So it was just one of those, he's a great closer, and they can definitely, what they've done with this team with Bridges and Towns, feels like a pretty complete team, but I don't know about their chances in the second round. We will get to that. But before we get to that, still wrapping up most of what the first round gave for us. We had the Pacers capping things off with the Milwaukee Bucks. Had a little bit of a confrontation between Giannis and the Tyrese Halliburton's dad in one of those games. That was a fun little fun little event that happened in one of those games. But what do you think of what the Pacers did in their first round? As they, for me, I talked about it last week. They're never going to have the top player in the series, but I feel like they have one of the best teams in the playoffs. Sneaky good because they get overlooked because of their market, and the fact that they don't have that star talent. But I really like what Tyrese Halliburton has done. He's starting to look like the guy that was setting the league on fire before he got his hamstring injury. So your thoughts on the Pacers?
They're just so balanced in so many ways. They're deep. They will usually end up with a pretty high 3-point percentage by the end of the game. I mean, we saw that yesterday in game 1 against the Cavaliers. And you can claim that they get lucky, but it's just the players that they have fit perfectly with the offensive system they're running, where they end up with these open shots. And when you're an NBA player, I mean, that's all you do. You just practice open 3-pointers in practice all the time. So if you can get open 3-pointers, expected to hit them. And yeah, I mean, and it's not just Halliburton too. He came up huge in that game 5. Overtime, because the Pacers looked dead in the water with 40 seconds to go, and he came up really clutch. But I mean, Neesmith is a really good 3-and-D guy. Andrew Nembhard's, when you need a big shot, he can give you a big shot. Miles Turner's always a presence down low, but he also can stroke it from deep. Obi Toppin and Benedict Mathurin off the bench. I mean, that's 2 really good bench players. TJ McConnell, another guy. Yeah. And their second best player is arguably Pascal Siakam, so who can hit tough fadeaway jumpers all the time. So yeah, rarely they're going to have the best player on the court, but there's a good chance they might have the 2nd through 6th best players on the court.
It's just been so much fun to watch them. I think every game, whether I planned on watching a game in the Milwaukee Indiana series or not, I felt myself drawn to it just because of the play of the Pacers. Even when you think they're down, they always seem to come back and do what they need to do to pull out a victory. And we actually saw that in game 1 against Cleveland, which we'll get to. But to wrap up the first round, obviously Cleveland made short work of Miami. We know the Oklahoma City Thunder made short work of the Memphis Grizzlies. So the 1 seeds, really, the playoffs didn't even really start for them in that first round. We'll see what holds for them in the second round. But maybe the best series up until maybe game 7 was the Nuggets and Clippers series. And I think the biggest thing that stood out in this series was Russell Westbrook, and kind of just an appreciation for what he's been for the league throughout his whole career. And he's kind of had a bit of a career renaissance with Denver. His post OKC era hasn't always been pretty, but with Denver, he seems to have found a home, which I'm surprised, because when Denver picked him up, I didn't think it really fit what they needed. I didn't think it was. I thought it was just going to be Westbrook going to another team where he's going to be wild and super energetic, but it's not going to mean much. But it has meant a lot for them in this season, and as well as the series against the Clippers, and just juxtaposed with his energy and James Harden's intensity, which was almost non-existent for Game 7. He had 7 points, I believe. It was an awful game from him, and playoff Harden, showed reared his ugly head again in this series, and it just looked like the Clippers gave up in this final game when they had a real shot to win this series. But um, I just think giving a little appreciation to Russell Westbrook and his career, and just how he's just much more self-aware about his game and what he needs to do for his team. He's really just fit into a role for Denver that's been really good. It's been a force of nature for this team, and that's why they're moving on.
Yeah, I mean, we could be eating our words next series, and Westbrook could be the reason they lose next series. I'm not saying it will happen, but there's still a great chance it can happen. But I do think this is the best situation he's been in. I think what helps, well, what you said is exactly correct, that he knows his role now. I think some of these other places he's gone, he's like, it's kind of been a weird fit everywhere he's gone, and he still kind of wanted to play like he did with Oklahoma City, and which doesn't work when you go to a new team. Um, but I think what helps with Denver is that it's a team that's won a title before, that has an established superstar, and I think he knows that, okay, I can't be myself like I normally am. I'm gonna have to be take a take a smaller role, but I mean he used it so effectively. Yeah, I mean he's an energizer now too. Like he got called for a technical, but he didn't care, and I don't think anyone cared because I mean he's just pumping up the crowd. So yeah, that was awesome. But yeah, I'm gonna eat my words on well, from 2 weeks ago when I said the Clippers would win this in 5. I said my thinking was that, for one, the Clippers were just playing really well at the time, and two, Denver just fired their coach the week before. I thought they might be a franchise in disarray, but no, shout out to the Nuggets because yeah, they battled their asses off, and they took it to the Clippers in Game 7, and it was really impressive. You mentioned James Harden, who I almost don't. So I've been looking at the numbers. I started looking at the numbers after the game. I don't even know if it's playoff Harden. I think playoff Harden's okay. It's really Game 7 Harden. Like it's bad. So I looked at. So he's played in, counting this game, he's played in 7 career Game 7s. I won't. The first game was with the Thunder. He was a sixth man, so I don't count that one against him. And he actually played pretty well in that game, anyways. But the 6 since then, where he's been established superstar, his field goal percentage is 30.8%, and he only ever shot above 40% once in those games. His 3-point percentage is 19.5%, which is atrocious. And he's never once shot above 30% in a Game 7 from 3. And his career average from 3 is 36.3, and his playoff average is 34. So you'd always expect a little drop in your field goal percentage come playoff time because the defense ramps up. And yeah, going from 36.3 to 34 isn't anything bad, and it means he shoots well in other playoff games, but not in Game 7. Yeah, when you shoot under 20% from 3 consistently, that's not a good look. And the other thing with the 7 points, he only shot the ball 8 times.
Yeah,
that was what was strange. I think I forget who was on the call for that game, but they said, yeah, you'd much rather see him go 2 for 19 than 2 for 8 when you're down this much, because at least he's giving an effort. Now he did have 13 assists, so I mean he was doing things other than scoring, but still, for a guy who's known as a scorer, going 2 for 8's just you can't do that in the Game 7.
Yeah, especially being a number 2 on your team, you have to show up, and even if you can't find your shot, if you only shot it 8 times, that tells me that he just couldn't find a good looks. You got to find a way to get those looks. If you look at Steph Curry in the game against Houston, he had to work really hard to find good looks with a defense that was clamped down on him. So you just have to find a way to get shots any way you can, find a way to win in different ways. Because if you look at Nikola Jokic's numbers, he only had 16 points, but he did so much for his team with the 10 rebounds and the 8 assists. In just obviously being a key cog in their offense, not just assist wise, but just within the offense, he holds a lot of attention from the opponent. So, yeah, I think with Harden, just you got to do more when it's not going for you.
Yeah, it was pretty inexcusable, and it'll be interesting to see what the Clippers do because I mean they were hot at the end of the year, and they played a good series up until Game 7. Like like I said, Denver's a championship winning team, so it wasn't going to be easy. And they played a really good games until that seventh game, but they just fell flat on their face.
Yeah. So let's look at the next round, and we'll stay with Denver. Obviously, they're going to be matched up against the 1 seed in OKC, and that's a team who's just it seems like they have everything. And where would you say that OKC's biggest weakness is? Where can Denver exploit them?
So the Thunder only lost 14 times this year, but the Denver OKC series this year was 2-2. So OKC didn't necessarily have their way with Denver in the regular season. So that's one thing to take note. The Thunder really don't have much weakness at all in their roster from top down. I will say, though, I think Jokic is going to love this series more than the previous series because he won't be backing down Zubac anymore. He'll be backing down Chet Holmgren, which might feel like a feather compared to what Zubac was in the previous year. Now, Holmgren can obviously do other things that Zubac can't, but I think they might have to adjust their defense on Jokic because that could get ugly because, I mean, Jokic needs all the attention from the defense. And Jamal Murray, if he's not on it, then you can really focus everything on Jokic, and that just pretty much ends Denver. But if Murray's on it, and then you don't have to worry about both guys, then you would get the Holmgren Jokic one-on-ones, and I feel like Jokic could easily take advantage of that. And one other thing is that the third time I've already said this, but Denver's won a championship. They've been here before. The Thunder, while they did win a playoff series last year, this was the round they lost as a 1 seed last year to they're upset by the Luka Doncic led Dallas Mavericks. And I mean, this is if their ultimate goal is to win a championship, this is a new hurdle that they have to overcome since they weren't able to do that last year. Now they've gained more experience, and they're favored. Obviously, I think they're game 1. They're 8.5-point favorites, and I could see that being a blowout just because Denver just got done playing a series. I could see that game 1 being pretty ugly, but I mean, this OKC is going to be much more of a dogfight in this series than they were against Memphis for sure.
Yeah, I think Jokic could have a really big series against OKC if they don't have a plan for him. I would think the best way to kind of go about this for Denver would be to slow things down. OKC is a team that loves to get out and transition and push the ball. I think Denver just has to slow this down, feed Jokic. Jokic should get the ball every time down the court. He should at least touch the ball on every possession. This could be a big series for him, considering, Zubac was a big body that gave him some fits in some of those games against the Clippers, but I don't know that OKC has quite the big man defender to go up against Jokic that they would want to keep out there, especially on the offensive side. But it should be a really fun series, but I don't know. OKC has just been so good this year, but it should be interesting. Let's take it down to the Rockets, the Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a series where you better be prepared for some bruises and bloody noses because these defenses are two of the best in the league. And if we thought the Golden State Houston series was a rough one, this might be even worse. And for a Warriors team who's been battered by a 7-game series, having to turn around just in a couple days, have to play the Timberwolves team who will actually have a good offensive player. It might be a tough road for the Warriors in this series.
Yeah, it's hard to count out Curry and the Warriors, but this does not shape out to be a good outcome for them. Yeah, Houston's offense was one of the worst I've ever seen in the postseason. So Minnesota's never going to play that bad, and even when they do, they have Edwards who can pretty much mitigate any offensive disaster that's happening, like he can take over and get them back on track. And but yeah, the Draymond Green versus Rudy Gobert, that's going to be pretty bloody, possibly. I mean, I think those two have a history together, but it's just not a. It would be interesting if both these teams came off sweeps or both these teams came off 7-game series. I do think Golden State might be a little worn out. Now they could lose game one, but then come back and make this an interesting series. But where I'm at with Curry is that he is not, in my opinion, a clutch time player. Like when it's close at the very end of the game, he is not the guy you want. Like there's several guys I would take over him in the last minutes of a NBA playoff game. And I mean, the history shows that he's 0-14 on go-ahead shots in the fourth quarter in the last 50 seconds of playoff games. 0-14. What Curry is amazing at is putting teams away. I don't know if there's anyone in league history I've ever seen who was better at just putting teams away, like killing any hope of a comeback. And it's amazing how he does it. You saw it in the Houston game where he didn't play very well in the first half, but the Warriors are still able to have a lead. And then, but if you've ever watched any Warriors basketball, you knew the Rockets don't really stand a chance because Curry's just gonna put them away. And sure enough, he did. Now, can they hold a lead against the Timberwolves? Now, I still think Curry could put them away if they are able to have like an 8-point lead going into the third. But if they're in a dogfight and it's close, I think the Timberwolves have the advantage in that. So the key for the Warriors is to get off to fast starts like they did in Game 7 against the Rockets. If they're able to do that, I do think they have a chance. But that will be hard to do against Anthony Edwards. And really a renaissance for Julius Randle, too. I mean, he's played really well despite his horrible playoff history. He played really well against the Lakers. So, yeah, this might be the series I'm most looking forward to just because it's really unpredictable for me. Like, it could go a number of different ways.
Yeah, Minnesota right now, they're -7.5 for game one. So that they're heavily favored, it looks like. So with the Timberwolves, obviously Edwards is the catalyst for everything offensively. Man, he's so much fun to watch. Julius Randle, like you said, he's been a bit of a career renaissance here. He was a huge factor in the series against the Lakers, and I think could be again against the Warriors. I would hope Jimmy Butler is, ready, healthier for this matchup. Obviously, we know with the fall, he did play in that Houston series after that fall, but just hoping we get a full healthy Warriors team that can go up against this Timberwolves squad.
I thought he looked decent in Game 7. So he may not be at 100%, but to me he looked all right for this upcoming series.
Yeah, should be fun to see how the Western Conference plays out here.
One more thing, I will say, if Buddy Hield continues to go 9 for 11 from 3, then maybe the Timberwolves might be in serious trouble.
Well, and that's something I've looked at a lot. Buddy Hield had a great Game 7 for the Warriors, just out of nowhere, and Steve Kerr almost had to be forced to use him because Gary Payton was sick. So, but I do think in a series against Minnesota, they may need Payton a little bit. He may be more valuable to them in this series to be able to lock down. He could be a guy that they can just throw on to Edwards to play him straight up. So that should be interesting to see how Kerr, manipulates the lineups for this series. Looking at the Eastern Conference, obviously we got Cleveland and Indiana at the top of that bracket. What my question was coming into this series was how well does the superstarless Pacers match up with Cleveland? Well, it looks like they match up pretty well because Indiana takes Game 1 on Cleveland's home floor. They steal home court advantage, and another great game, as we just talked about with this Pacers squad. So much fun to watch, and Halliburton did it again. Everybody contributed in this game. But Donovan Mitchell when he tried to bring them back for this victory. He tried to do it all by scoring, basically. And I thought if he could have dished the ball a little bit more when they had certain lineups out there. Like obviously, if you got Okoro out there, you're probably not kicking it out to him on the wing. But when like guys like Wade are out there, you should be trying to find some of your guys. But he was just going right down the lane and trying to draw fouls and almost being like a free throw merchant in some ways. But
And that was effective, like towards the end of the third and the fourth. But towards the end, yeah, that's not a sustaining formula.
right, and you're going to tire out, and you
Yeah.
could tell he was petering out towards the end of that game. Obviously, the Darius Garland injury, keeping him out, that's a huge factor because that he's like the quarterback of your offense, and he plays a huge part in it. So if they can get him back for more of the games in this series, maybe that'll make a big difference for the outlook of the series for Cleveland. But like what I'm seeing from Indiana.
So obviously, Cleveland's the 1 seed, and the Pacers are the 4 seed. But you look at the last since January 1st. So looking at January 1st, up until this series, the Pacers are 38-15, and the Cavs are 39-14. Now this was before game one, so now that's the exact same record. The Pacers and the Cavs have had the exact same record since January 1st. The Cavs got off to a super hot start. And remember, they started 15-0, I believe,
Yeah.
to start the season. The Pacers did not get off to a hot start. They had to lose. I think they were like 10-15 at one point in December. So, but I mean, Cleveland sustained that success all year. When you win 64 games, I mean, it's no accident. So, able to, you're not going to win 82 games, but when you start off 15-0, but still managing to win 64 is amazing. But I mean, January 1st was several months ago, and they have the same record. So it's a very evenly matched series. I do expect the Cavaliers to win game two. I've seen some, they're 9.5-point favorites. I've seen some go up to 10.5. I think that's just it's kind of the Lakers Timberwolves factor of how when a road team wins game one, you kind of think they're not going to take game two 100% seriously because they already still home court. But I do think 10.5 is a lot of points because I think these two teams match up so well. But I do think if Garland comes back, I think we might see more Cavalanches, which is what you were kind of waiting for to happen in game one, and it did in spurts. Not really with 3-point shooting, but with scoring. When Mitchell driving the lane, either laying it up or feeding Allen or Mobley. But I think if they get Garland back, those could happen more often, and that could bring trouble to the Pacers defensively.
Yeah, Cleveland had a moment. The Pacers were up by 12 at one point in that it was like the third quarter of the fourth. And Cleveland stormed back to take the lead by like 4 or 5 points, and the crowd was going nuts in that arena. And I thought that this is that turning point. I mean, they captured the crowd, and now it's going to be really tough for Indiana to be able to hold this off. But they did, which is just even more impressive. But again, Darius Garland coming back could be a huge factor going forward. We'll see if he's back for game two. It'll be interesting to see what effect he'll have on the outlook of that series. But should be really fun. I mean, I can see Indiana going back to Eastern Conference Finals again and facing a team like Boston, having a rematch. Do you think they'd match up better this year than last year, or would you think it'd be more of the same?
I mean, last year it was the closest sweep you'll ever see. It was a Celtics won 4-0, but all four of those games came right down to the wire. So, and you would think a more experienced team, I mean, the Pacers have now gained experience, that would steal a couple of those games. I would still heavily favor Boston in that series, but I would be absolutely shocked if that was a sweep. I would more likely see a 4-2 Celtics win. But I almost think the Celtics would rather face Cleveland. I know they would have home court advantage against the Pacers. It's just the uniqueness of the Pacers and just how they can score in so many ways can scare teams. And I mean the Pacers gave Boston the best fight last year, anyways. So, but I think the East will be entertaining though, both series the rest of the way.
Yeah, and Rick Carlisle's got those boys going, and anytime you have to go up against a championship winning coach, that I'd rather take Cleveland. So, looking at that last series with the Celtics and the Knicks, currently they are playing right now. Celtics, this is Monday night. Celtics up 53-43 with 2:45 left to go in the second. Um, this is a series that the Knicks really battled against the Pistons, but I always felt like the Pistons outplayed them for most of that series. Uh, just Jalen Brunson was able to come through for him late. The Celtics obviously got tested a little bit with the Magic, but they were able to put them away pretty easily. What do you see in this series? Do the Knicks have any shot? And for even to give them a shot, do we not appreciate the Celtics and Tatum as much as we should, because this team's so good, yet they almost get overlooked because they have a stacked roster and we just expect them to win.
Yeah, I do think this is the most obvious series to call already, but I still think it's going to be entertaining just simply because it's Boston versus New York. So it's going to bring bright lights and two huge markets. So that's why I'm really looking forward to this series. But yeah, I almost do think we take the Celtics for granted a little bit. It's kind of strange. They're similar to the Warriors a little bit last decade. How they drafted Tatum and Brown, and then they've added pieces through free agency that fit
Yeah,
right in: Drew Holiday, Derek White, and Porzingis. But I mean, the difference is like the Kevin Durant rings to me will always have an asterisk there because like there was no player development there. Like he was one of the best, maybe a top two player in the league, and he decided to join a 73-win team. And this isn't the case for Boston because then you look at guys like Peyton Pritchard who've mightily improved. I never would have dreamed he would have. I remember him in college, but I never would have
yeah,
dreamed he would have been like this good of a player in the NBA. I think it's just because he's been through the Boston system. So you got to respect it. And yeah, I mean, another reason is because of it's Boston. They've won 18 titles now, so like people just don't really want to see them win. They just kind of want to ignore them. Like,
yeah,
can these guys just go away? But yeah, I do think Tatum sometimes gets a bad rap because I do believe he is one of the best players in the NBA. It would be cool one day down the line to see him have a team of his own and see what he can do as the one guy without much help. But I mean, he's still a fascinating player. And as for the Knicks this series, I I don't want to say sweep, like just because I feel like there really is something to behold for them going 3-0 on the road. Like that just
yeah,
shows that they are still a good team. And the fact that the Magic played the Celtics fairly close in several of those games makes me think that maybe the Celtics aren't as above everyone else as some people think. So yeah, I would go Knicks, maybe stealing one or two, possibly on the road too.
yeah.
I could maybe see them taking game one or two. Yeah, I mean, as we're speaking right now, it's a double-digit game already in the first half, but that doesn't really mean anything because to me, first halves in the NBA are some of the most irrelevant sporting events that exist because
Yeah, as long as you keep it within like 15, 20 points,
it's amazing.
it
It
could be
really
anything in the second half.
it's consistently like that. It's amazing how sometimes you'd rather your team be down 15 than up 15 at the half. It's like two completely different games by half in the playoffs. Like I think 20 if you're up 25 points, that's when you can think, okay, maybe this game is over. But yeah, but yeah, but at Boston, Celtics might win this one. But yeah, like I said, I could see the Knicks taking a couple.
Yeah, definitely when they go to Madison Square Garden, that place is going to be jumping. That's going to be a great atmosphere when the
Especially if
Celtics.
they steal one of these home games. If
Right.
they could steal one of these games at Boston, yeah, that could really be a rocking environment in
Yeah.
Manhattan.
And I really need to see more from Mikal Bridges. He's got to be a much bigger factor on the offensive side going into the Celtics series, or it's just not going to work. as far as Tatum and the Celtics, I do think we take Tatum for granted, most definitely, because uh, he's not the big personality that a lot of NBA stars are. He's more reserved. Um, and so he kind of gets overlooked as far as face of the league. Everyone goes straight to Anthony Edwards or Luka Doncic because there are these big personalities and they trash talk on the court. Where Tatum's a little bit more collaborative and is able to play within a system, but he's really good. He can do everything really well. I wouldn't say he's the best at any of the things he does do, but he's a great all around superstar in this league. So it'll be interesting to see if he takes that next step to really be the leader of the squad, because obviously we saw last year with Jaylen Brown being the finals MVP, who the league really thought was the best player on that team or did the most for him. So, yeah, should be a great series between the Celtics and Knicks, and we'll be watching it all the way. Looking like Celtics are going to take this one up, obviously, but like you said, it's the first half. Let's look at Major League Baseball. Let's shift gears here to some weekly top stories. So I think the biggest one that kind of jumped out that really isn't as much baseball related is the fan that fell 21 feet onto the field at PNC Park during the Pirates and Cubs game. I mean, if you saw any of the raw footage of it on YouTube, it's kind of scary. Like it's not something you obviously see every day. But to just see his body kind of just flailing as he goes down, you could tell it wasn't intended, obviously. And it was just a scary scene. It looked like he fell on his head, and having to be carted off the field, obviously from a fall, a drop that far is going to put anyone in the hospital. But there has been some good news. On Sunday, it was reported that he was awake and making progress. So just a scary scene, and just seeing the raw footage was just kind of made my stomach turn.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long recovery for sure. With the investigation details that have been released, he did not purchase any alcohol for himself, but he did have 2 beers, and he was with a group of guys, and one of those guys purchased 7 beers legally because the guy who fell was 20 years old. But
Nice.
so yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's great that he's alert, and yeah, it was. Yeah, if you haven't seen that raw footage, I will warn you, it's pretty disturbing. So be ready for that because it's scary. Yeah. I mean, when I heard the story at first, I was like, okay, was it some crazy
Some
guy,
drunk, right?
some drunk, or maybe even someone suicidal who wanted to make a
Right,
statement or something?
right.
But when you watch the video, you can see it was clearly an accident.
It's a situation. What it looks like is like he got excited about the play, was jumping up on the railing, and just his foot got caught and made him tumble over. And it's like, it makes you wonder, like, how does this not happen more
Yeah,
in these
that's
big
true.
games? It wasn't even a big game. Think about like if Pittsburgh's got to make the playoffs to have a big game in the playoffs. But I mean, just think about any close game that comes down to the wire, and it was a big play that happened within that game, and you just wonder, like, how does this not happen more in more stadiums? Just people getting excited and jumping up on the railing. So a bizarre scene that happened in Pittsburgh. Also, we had the Red Sox Tristan Casas, one of their top prospects that they brought up this season. He got carted off the field after a nasty fall, running out a ground ball, ended up rupturing his patella tendon, and he will miss the rest of the season with knee surgery. A big blow for the Red Sox, who are looking to really make a jump this year, but they'll have to maneuver the lineup and maybe put Rafael Devers at first base, move Bregman over to third, which is his natural position. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Alex Cora is able to manipulate this lineup after that injury, because that is a big blow. He's a top prospect and a major contributor at this point in the season. And then finally, as far as the weekly top stories, we got Lance McCullers Jr. Pitching for the first time for the Houston Astros since the 2022 World Series. It'd been 915 days since he'd last pitched. So he was obviously a major contributor on the World Series team from a few years ago. He came back. He only pitched 3 2/3 because he ended up throwing 87 pitches. He walked a few batters. So he had some issues with some of his control, but all in all, he didn't give up any runs, which is a big point to make. But should see some major things for him in the future as he gets more time under his belt, coming off that injury. So now is a good time to do our fun little exercise. But before we do that, let's preface it with a little question we have for this season in Major League Baseball. Is Paul Skenes the best pitcher in baseball right now? Stats factored in, obviously the hype around he's been the biggest phenom we've seen since probably Steven Strasburg. I mean, as much as the hype around a pitcher coming into the league, what are your thoughts? Do you think he's the best pitcher in the league? Obviously, we've had other starters this season get off to really good starts. We've mentioned Max Fried a lot with his great start for the Yankees this season. But what's your opinion on the Paul Skenes hype? Obviously, it's a great pitcher on a bad team, but
Yeah. No, but will he be? Yes. He's kind of like people are saying he's kind of got off to a meh start. I think that's just because the expectations were so high. Because someone pointed out so he's pitched 7 games so far, 3-3 record overall. But after the All-Star break last year, when it was really gaining hype, his first 7 games he had a 2.74 ERA, 13 walks, 47 strikeouts, .199 batting average against. And his first 7 games this year, people are saying it's kind of been a meh year. Exact same ERA, 2.74, 8 walks, 41 strikeouts, and also a .199 batting average against. So, I mean, he's really doing the exact same. So, I'm not going to call him the best now because he hasn't taken a big step, like a step forward a little bit. But, I mean, he's clearly on progress to be the face of pitching here in just a little bit. I mean, I guess maybe recency bias come from this too, because I mean his last start he did not pitch like Paul Skenes in his last start against the Cubs.
Yeah.
He hit 3 home runs in the 5th inning, and he walked.
It was a rough one.
That was a rough one, but yeah, I mean he's still having a great season, and I expect him to get better. Hopefully, he doesn't succumb to needing major surgery or anything like that, like most pitchers do. Unfortunately, it's probably going to happen eventually, but I still predict that eventually, maybe even by the end of the year, next year, he'll be the best pitcher in the baseball.
Yeah, and I mean, the Pirates really have to start building around this kid and getting a competitive team together. They are currently in last place in the NL Central. They do have him through 2029, so they've got until then to figure their shit out and put together a team that's going to make a playoff run, because it would be such a waste for Pittsburgh to have this great pitcher and not have anything come of it.
Mike Trout of pitching is what
right. And I would assume Skenes, the first chance he gets, is going to take the big contract and go elsewhere. Probably end up being a Los Angeles Dodger. That's the way everyone else does. So
yeah, the New York or LA, somewhere in that general vicinity is probably one.
Yep. But in the spirit of who's the best pitcher of all time, and this season, we wanted to do a starting 5 rotation draft, and we're going to do all time. So we got way back to the Babe Ruth, Cy Young days to now, and I'll let you get the first pick.
Okay,
so let's start this.
So I'm no stats expert, so I'm not going to go with my first pick a long ways back. Really, not far back at all. But I mean, when you murder a bird with your pitch,
oh man, my first pick, you took him.
Yeah, Randy Johnson gets my first pick. Yeah.
Randy Johnson, yeah. I mean, this guy, Hall of Famer, obviously, but a 5-time Cy Young winner. He had 4 of those in a row with the Arizona Diamondbacks between 1999 and 2002. I had him pulled up because he was going to be my pick. So he's a Triple Crown winner for pitching. 10-time All-Star, He's got a World Series, a World Series MVP, and 4 ERA titles. Those were in those 4 seasons that he got the Cy Young Award, obviously. So what a career he had. 6'10". He's 6'10" pitcher. We don't have a
Yeah, I
lot
mean,
of guys like that anymore. So for my first pick, I'll go with the righty that I was going to pick after him. And that's going to be Roger Clemens. Obviously, put a little bit of an asterisk next to his name because of the steroids,
I
but
don't care. Yeah, if you
right,
pitch good,
right, and it happened mostly after his Boston tenure. But if you just take his Boston years, 3 Cy Youngs, he got an MVP in one of those years. So he was an MVP winner and a Cy Young winner in the same season. With Boston, four ERA titles. He had another 2 with Toronto. His Toronto years were ridiculous. He was only there for 2 years, but won back-to-back Cy Youngs. He should be a Hall of Famer. It's just time to put these guys in. But yeah, I would say that the greatest right-handed pitcher of all time is Roger Clemens, and it's no question. And that's my number 1 pick.
So my next pick, I can't say I ever watched this guy or know too much about him. So I don't usually look up baseball stats from pre-World War II. Actually, this would be mostly pre-World War One. But Walter Johnson is who I will go with next. A 1.5 ERA in a 5-year peak. His 5-year peak could arguably be from 1910 to 1914. In that peak, he had a 1.5 ERA and totally had 110 career shutouts. So who knows? Like, baseball is a sport where you maybe could see guys from a long time ago still plug them in today and they could still be dominant. Definitely way more than like basketball or something like that. But I mean, we're going historically, and when you put up numbers like that, and when he's at the top of most pitchers list, I'll go with Johnson & Johnson for my first 2 picks.
Let's go. I like it. It's always a wonder, like, how hard did those guys even throw back then? Like, you wonder, because they would pitch, 40 some odd games in a season, and most of them would be complete games. You can't. It'd be hard to imagine they were throwing near 100 back then. I'd expect more like 70 or 80 miles an hour. But the stats that they put up are a lot of them for guys like Walter Johnson or Cy Young. There'll be records that'll never be broken. But for my second pick, I got to get in a lefty, and it's probably the best pitcher, in my opinion, of our generation, and that's Clayton Kershaw. So this guy pitched still with the Dodgers to this day, but whole career with the Dodgers. In his 17 years, he's had 5 ERA titles to go with 3 Cy Young awards. And again, like Roger Clemens, he had same season, won an MVP in 2014. The herky-jerky motion of his windup, I think, would be really good in an all-time starting 5 rotation. He's got the deadly curveball, and to me, just the best pitcher of our generation. Triple Crown winner, 10-time All-Star. Finally got that World Series during the COVID year in 2020, and even won a Roberto Clemente Award, which is good for off the field stuff. So that's my pick. Number 2 is Clayton Kershaw.
Okay. Go back to more recent times. My third pick will be Pedro Martinez. Really peaked in the late 90s, early 2000s. He had a career 2.93 ERA. In 1997, he had a 1.9 ERA and 305 strikeouts. And he won the NL Cy Young. I don't know how many career Cy Youngs does he have. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but
he's got like 3 at least.
Yeah, pretty dominant during his time. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Pedro for my third pick.
Awesome. I'll pick someone from that same era, kind of the 90s, early 2000s era, the steroid era, and that's Greg Maddux of the Atlanta Braves. Another Hall of Famer. He was a 4-time Cy Young Award winner, 8-time All-Star, was on the 1995 World Series team with Atlanta. But I think one of his most impressive accolades is his 18-time Gold Glove. Nothing's going to get by this guy, and he's never going to make an errant throw to one of the bases. for your team. So four-time ERA title. This is something that kind of a theme with my guys is the ERA titles. But had one of the best two-seam fastballs of all time. It would just dip into a right-handed hitter's batting stance. So it was one of the best pitches, kind of reminiscent to like a Garrett Cole two-seamer that has a lot of movement to it. So Greg Maddux is my pick, getting myself another righty into that rotation.
Okay. So this one might be a little surprise. We're going by. I'm basing this off of their peak, so I'm going to take Sandy Koufax with my next pick. He could be labeled in football terms as like a Barry Sanders or an Andrew
Yeah.
Luck or a Luke Kuechly, where he retired early in his prime, but man, his prime was good, especially postseason. Postseason, he pitched across 4 postseasons in 57 innings. He gave up a grand total of just 6 earned runs for an ERA of .95. So a riser in the postseason. He definitely peaked late in his career. He only played 12 years because he had to end his career early due to arthritis, which is unfortunate. But I'm taking him with my next pick.
Awesome. That's a great pick, and my grandpa would be so happy that you said that. It was his favorite player of all time. So with my pick, I'm gonna get my second lefty into my starting 5 here. I need another one, so I'm gonna go with Lefty Grove. I'm gonna take it way back to the late 20s through the 30s. If you look at his baseball reference page, it is just littered with bold numbers. When it's bold, that means he led the league in that number, and it's ridiculous. He was, I mean, an MVP winner for one, but a 2-time Triple Crown winner. Obviously, they didn't have All-Star games until 1933, but he still racked up 6 of them when All-Star games didn't start until halfway through his career. So he would have had probably another 6 or 7 beforehand. 2-time World Series winner, but here's the big one: 9-time ERA title award winner. So that, I mean, he was consistently in the 2s. He had a career ERA of just over 3. His Boston years, he started to get some bad ERAs in his last couple of years, but just, you can just like look at it and just be like, okay, yeah, this guy is an all-time great with all the bold numbers on here. He led the league in strikeouts for about 7 straight years. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I definitely want that to go along with Clayton Kershaw as my 2 lefties in my rotation.
So I will take a great St. Louis Cardinal next, and Bob Gibson. We've said this one time, but how he really helped contribute to the rule changes because his pitching was so good back in the day. I like this pickup a lot. Mostly because, 2 Cy Young winners, one in a 1.12 ERA in those 2 years he won the Cy Young, and 13 complete game shutouts and 34 starts in those.
Still holds the single season ERA record.
Yeah.
Just an all-time great from the Cardinals organization. So that is a great pickup, and one that I was hoping I would get with my 5th one, but you got him. So good on you. For my last one, I was between a couple of guys here. I wanted to go kind of in that expansion era around the 60s, 70s. I almost went Nolan Ryan here, but because of his inaccuracy, I guess, his walk rate was crazy. So I'm going to go Tom Seaver. Specifically with the New York Mets, was his heyday, was a huge part of the Miracle Mets in 1969. Again, a 3-time Cy Young Award winner. Actually won the Rookie of the Year in 67. 3-time ERA title winner, and led the league in WAR 3 different seasons. So an all-time great. He's looked at again as one of the greatest pitchers of all time. And with 12 All-Stars under his belt as well. That, I mean, He's a clear Hall of Famer and who is a great pitcher to round out my starting five. So I will hand it over to you for your next pick. These next two picks would basically are like kind of like our honorable mention slash long relief pitchers. So we can get two more pitchers as long relief pitchers that are still starters.
Okay, so I mean, since this guy played a long time ago, he didn't pitch as much, so that means he should fit perfectly in the bullpen. And when you have an award named after you, maybe you just got to be on my roster. So, of course, this has to be good old Mr. Cy Young. Yeah, he's like when you look at his complete stats, it's not like earth shattering, but that's mostly because when you compare it to like pitchers to the great pitchers today, I mean, he just didn't pitch as much, but still, yeah, I'm happy with this pick. In his 5-year peak, which was from 01 to 05, so way before uh, a lot of baseball history.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that far back, but
yeah,
he pitched 184 complete games with a 1.93 ERA. So in his peak, 1.93 ERA, that's hard to overlook. So let's take Cy Young.
Great pick. That's a great pick. Obviously, you got the Cy Young Award named after you. You can't leave him off this.
You had to have been good. You had to have been really good.
Yeah. My pick is a guy who's been in the league for a long time. He's still currently pitching in his 20th season in the league. So longevity is big for this pick because, as a long reliever, you'd want a guy that's been around the block. And my pick is Justin Verlander, a 3-time Cy Young Award winner. 2 of them with Houston late in his career. Obviously, he had the Cy Young MVP award again in 2011. Also, a Rookie of the Year winner in 06. An all-time great with the Detroit Tigers. So obviously, this is with being a Triple Crown winner. Again, the theme of ERA titles, Triple Crown, Cy Young. Can't leave him off my team here.
Okay, so for my final pick, so he's going to be in the bullpen. So, like you said, you want a guy with longevity, and you alluded to him earlier. Yes, his walk rate is a little, but when you pitch 7 no-hitters and you're the all-time strikeout leader, I'm sorry, you can't go this whole time without being put on a team. So, Nolan Ryan, step on up. You are in my bullpen.
Oh man, memorable player with all the no hitters he had. He had 7 no hitters, so obviously has the record for that. And then obviously one of the greatest fights of all time with Robin Ventura when he put him in a headlock. So love that pick by you. I'm kind of torn between a couple of guys. I want to go lefty here. I think I got my guy. That's going to be Steve Carlton. So Steve Carlton was originally a Cardinal. Was drafted by them and played for them for about 7 years. But he really hit his stride with the Philadelphia Phillies. Was on the 1980 World Series team, and he had 4 Cy Young Award wins in that span between 1972 and 1982. Obviously led the league in strikeouts for about 5 seasons. Led the league in ERA in 1972 with a 1.97. So just an all-around great lefty. And again, want to keep he's a Triple Crown winner. So there you go. Getting all those guys onto my team is important. So I'm going to finish it off with Steve Carlton. So I think these rotations came out really well. So we got all the best guys on there. That's our team. Let us know in the comments who you would have on your all-time starting 5. It'd probably be different than ours. Obviously, ours is draft, so we didn't get to just have duplicates here. So just let us know who you guys think would be in your all-time starting 5. So looking at our last topic here, we got the NFL. With the recent draft picks coming into the league, we thought we'd go over some of the offensive and defensive Rookie of the Year picks. The biggest thing I saw with the FanDuel odds were that Travis Hunter was listed third in both the offensive and the defensive rookie of the year odds. First question, where where do you think is most likely his best chance of getting a rookie of the year award? Would it be on the offensive or the defensive side?
I really don't know. Like I've also thought about this a lot, and I really don't know. He wasn't dominant at either one. He was great, but he was never dominant at either one. So that's why it's so.
Yeah,
But he wasn't clearly better at one than the other. That's why it's so hard to judge. Probably defensively, just because offensively they already have Brian Thomas and they have a couple guys there, so you have to share the load. And with Jacksonville, their secondary's not. They have some good pass edge rushers, but their secondary is nothing special. So he could probably make an immediate impact there. So if I had to pick, probably defense, but I'm not confident either way. Yeah.
bit of a surprise seeing Jalen Walker be second on the defensive rookie of the year odds, plus 700. We can start with defense, but who do you think comes out with the rookie of the year this year on the defensive side?
I think Abdul Carter is the easy pick, and that's if I had to pick someone, that's who I would pick. My long shot would be a guy like Malachi Starks in the Ravens secondary. You can get him at like plus 2,500. So if you're looking for a long shot, that's who I would go with.
Really good value.
Really good value. He was a great player. Georgia, he fell a little bit in the draft, but went to a perfect situation with Baltimore. But I mean, it just sets up beautifully for Abdul Carter. He's an edge rusher. Lately, this award's gone more to outside linebackers, edge rushers. Like a guy like Mason Graham, I would not have confidence in to win Rookie of the Year. That's not. I think he'll make a great impact, but the last two defensive tackles to win the Rookie of the Year was Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh. And that was a decade ago, and both those guys were just outstanding. So, yeah. But the Jalen Walker one doesn't surprise me too much because the Falcons' defense is bad. He could be the leader. He could essentially take over and be the leader of that defense immediately. So, yeah. But I think to me, Abdul Carter's in a perfect situation. He's got Thibodeau on the other side and Brian Burns on the other side, so he's not going to get sole attention from an offensive line. So, yeah, I think it's Abdul Carter's to lose.
Yeah, and I think edge rushers are in, and that's who's going to probably get more of the picks for defensive player of the year. So yeah, I would agree with Abdul Carter. For offensive rookie of the year, Ashton Jeanty is the favorite at plus 270. I mean, when you look at the rest of the guys listed on offensive rookie of the year, it's kind of hard not to think that Jeanty would come out with this. The only reason why maybe he wouldn't is going up against teams like Kansas City and Denver and the Chargers, who are all going to seemingly have good defenses, and those will be teams that Jeanty has to play a lot, given that they're in the same division.
And the other running back who has decent odds to win it, and Hampton with the Chargers plays in that same division. So yeah. It's like, but both those teams could run those guys a lot. A running back hasn't won Rookie of the Year since 2018 with Saquon. Last 2 years, it's been quarterbacks. Unless Cam Ward lights the world on fire, I would be surprised because usually when it's kind of a downish quarterback class, they don't usually win Rookie of the Year. But there wasn't a great wide receiver taken, like McMillan's plus 1,000.
Right. I feel like this is such a tough one to pick.
I know. I feel like defense is so easy. Offense is not. You might want to get sexy and go the tight end route with Warren or Loveland, but
I mean, I was kind of looking at that.
A tight end has not won Rookie of the Year since the 1960s.
Right.
Now I will say Bowers would have won it in a lot of previous years had he not been with Jaden Daniels. So, I mean, there's that. But can either of those guys put up Brock Bowers' numbers? Because the Raiders' skill players weren't very good last year, and he was like their only really good skill player or whenever. especially a guy like Loveland when there's already Komet and Keenan, DJ Moore and
Yeah.
Roma Dunze and the other guy they just drafted from Missouri, Luther Burden. That it'd be really surprising if he put up like rookie of the year numbers. Warren, there's a chance just because the Colts tight end room has nobody other than him, but I just don't like the history of tight ends for rookie of the year. So I think I'd have to go Genty there. I know it's not. I know it went boring with Abdul Carter, but like I said, I really don't like any of these
No.
very much.
And I'm going to go, I will go with Cam Ward just because of the division he's playing in. I think he could do more than what the other guys could do in their divisions, especially the running backs. And like you said, the running backs haven't really done that well as far as rookie of the year. So I think Cam Ward could maybe do something with Tennessee, at least put up good numbers to get him this award. So that's my pick for the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. That'll wrap it up for us here at the KNL Sports Huddle. Got a lot to look forward to with the NBA playoffs. Obviously, MLB keeps trudging along through the regular season. We'll keep you guys updated as we go through with some standings here in the weeks to come. But it's been fun. Great to see you again, Logan. And we'll be back again for y'all next week.